I was making coffee Tuesday morning when I heard her phone buzz on the kitchen counter. She was upstairs getting ready for work, and normally I wouldn't even glance at it. But the screen lit up with a group chat notification, and I caught a glimpse of something that made me pause. Girls Weekend Planning was the group name, but the preview text wasn't about any weekend trip. It was Lillian's name with words that made my stomach drop. 30 days. He'll finally realize his place. I'm not proud of what I did next, but curiosity got the better of me. I picked up her phone. No passcode. She'd always trusted me completely. The irony wasn't lost on me later. What I found in that chat changed everything. Lillian had written a long message that read like a manipulation manual. Listen, girls, I've been married for 15 years, and I'm telling you, ignore him completely for 30 days. Don't respond to anything he says unless it's absolutely necessary. No affection, no conversation, no acknowledgement. Men are like dogs. They need to be trained. After 30 days of this treatment, he'll finally realize his place and become more submissive. Trust me, it works every time. My wife had responded with heart emojis, and you're brilliant. Starting tonight. Helen had chimed in. Totally agree. Men think they can just coast through marriage. Time to wake him up. Julie added. My husband tried to argue with me last week about money. 2 days of complete silence, and he was apologizing and agreeing to everything. I stood there holding her phone, reading message after message of these women treating their marriages like some kind of psychological warfare. And my wife was about to make me their latest experiment. The coffee maker finished brewing, but I barely heard it. My mind was racing through everything that had been happening lately. The shorter responses to my questions. The way she'd started looking right through me when I talked. The sudden lack of interest in anything I had to say. I thought she was just stressed from work. Turns out she was following a playbook. I heard her footsteps on the stairs and quickly put the phone back exactly where it was. She walked into the kitchen, grabbed her coffee mug, and poured herself a cup without saying a word to me. No good morning, no acknowledgement that I even existed. The silent treatment had officially begun. Morning, I said, testing the waters. She walked past me like I was invisible, took her coffee, and went back upstairs. I almost laughed. These women had no idea who they were dealing with. They thought they could train me like some kind of pet, make me more submissive through psychological manipulation. They were about to learn that some dogs bite back. I finished my coffee and started planning. If they wanted to play games, I could play games too. But my version would have very different rules and a very different ending. The next 30 days were going to be interesting indeed, just not in the way they expected. The first week of her training program was almost entertaining to watch. She'd perfected the art of looking right through me, responding to direct questions with single words or just walking away entirely. If I asked about dinner plans, she'd shrug. If I mentioned the weekend, she'd act like I hadn't spoken. What she didn't know was that every day of her silent treatment gave me another day to prepare. Monday morning, while she was at her marketing job downtown, I drove to the law offices of Gibson and Associates. The receptionist was efficient, and within an hour, I was sitting across from Leonard Gibson himself, a straightforward man in his 50s who'd handled divorces for 23 years. How long have you been married? He asked, taking notes. 8 years. No kids, thankfully. Any joint assets I should know about? House is rented. Lease is in my name only. Car payments are separate. We have one joint checking account, but most of my income goes into my personal account. I pulled out the folder I'd prepared. I've got bank statements, pay stubs, everything organized. Gibson raised an eyebrow. You came prepared. My wife is currently following advice from her friends to ignore me for 30 days to make me more submissive. I figured I should use the time productively. He actually chuckled. Well, that's a first. Most people come in here emotional and unprepared. This might be the smoothest case I handle this year. Tuesday and Wednesday, I started the quiet work of separating our lives. Opened a new bank account at a different institution. Changed my direct deposit. Made a list of everything in the house that was mine versus hers. Surprisingly easy since we'd never really blended our stuff completely. Thursday evening, she broke her silence just long enough to ask if I'd seen her favorite coffee mug. I told her I hadn't, which was technically true. I had packed it with my other belongings that were now sitting in a storage unit across town. You're acting weird, she said, studying my face. Am I? I hadn't noticed. She waited for me to elaborate, but I just went back to reading my book. Two could play the silence game. Friday night was when it got really interesting. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages from the girls' group chat. I could see her typing furiously, probably updating them on my progress. At one point, she actually took a photo of me sitting quietly on the couch and sent it to them. Later that night, I heard her on a call with Lillian. "I think it's working," she whispered. "He's been so quiet lately. Barely talks to me at all." If only she knew. By Sunday, I had everything arranged. New apartment lease signed, starting next week. Moving truck reserved for Wednesday. All utilities scheduled for disconnection from this address and connection to the new one. The divorce papers were ready to be filed. Gibson just needed my final approval. She was in the bathroom getting ready for bed when her phone lit up again with another message from the group chat. This time it was Helen. "Stay strong. You're almost through week 1. By week 3, he'll be eating out of your hand." I smiled as I set her phone back down. By week 3, I'd be eating dinner in my own place, in peace and quiet, while she figured out how to pay rent on her marketing coordinator salary. The irony was delicious. While she thought she was training me to be more submissive, she was actually giving me the perfect opportunity to plan my exit without any interference. Her silence was the best gift she'd ever given me. Wednesday morning arrived like any other day, except this would be the last morning I'd wake up in this house. She left for work at 7:30 sharp, same as always, giving me her usual performance of complete indifference. "Have a good day," I said to her back as she walked out. No response. Perfect. The moving truck pulled up at 8:15. 3 guys who knew their business and didn't ask unnecessary questions. I'd labeled everything clearly the night before. My furniture, my electronics, my clothes, my books. 8 years of marriage, and it was surprisingly easy to separate what was mine. "You want us to take the couch?" asked the crew chief, Theodore. "No, that stays. Just the recliner and the desk." "What about the TV?" "She can have it. I'm taking the sound system from the bedroom." By noon, they were loading the last box. I walked through each room one final time, making sure I hadn't forgotten anything important. The house looked strange with gaps where my stuff used to be, but not empty. She'd have furniture, appliances, everything she needed to function. She just wouldn't have me. I placed the divorce papers in the center of the kitchen table where she couldn't miss them. Next to them, I left a note written on regular notebook paper. Nothing fancy or dramatic. "I realized my place, somewhere you're not. Don't contact me directly. All communication goes through Gibson and Associates. Their number is on the legal documents." Then I added one final line that I knew would drive the point home. "Thanks for the 30 days of silence." It gave me exactly the time I needed. I called the utility companies for my car. Electric, gas, internet, cable, all scheduled for disconnection at the end of the month. The water would stay on since it was included in rent, but everything else she'd have to set up herself. Next call was to the bank. "I need to remove someone from my joint checking account and close it entirely." "We'll need both parties present for that, sir." "What about if I just withdraw all funds that are mine and close my access?" "That you can do today." 20 minutes later, I walked out of the bank with a cashier's check for my portion of our joint account, which, considering I'd been the primary contributor, was most of it. She'd have enough left to cover her immediate needs, but the reality of managing finances alone would hit her fast. The final stop was my phone carrier. New number, new plan, completely separate from our old family package. By 4 o'clock, I was in my new place, a clean, quiet apartment across town where nobody knew me and nobody had any expectations. I ordered pizza and sat in my recliner, listening to the sound of complete peace. No passive-aggressive sighs, no manipulative silence, no group chat conspiracies, just quiet. At exactly 6:30, my old phone, which I'd kept just for tonight, buzzed with a text from her number. "Where are you? Your car isn't here." I turned the phone off without responding. She'd be home soon, and then the fun would begin. She got home at 6:30, just like every weeknight. I know because I kept my old phone on just long enough to see the progression of messages that followed. 6:31 p.m. Hello? Where are you? 6:45 p.m. This isn't funny. Where's all your stuff? 6:52 p.m. Call me now. Then nothing for 21 minutes. That's when she found the papers. 7:13 p.m. You can't be serious. 7:14 p.m. We need to talk about this. 7:16 p.m. I'm calling you. But my old number was already disconnected, and she had no way to reach my new one. The calls were going straight to a deadline. 7:23 p.m. This is insane. Over what? I haven't even done anything wrong. 7:31 p.m. I'm going to call your work. Good luck with that. I'd already informed my supervisor about a potential domestic situation and changed my emergency contact information. The texts kept coming, getting more frantic as the evening wore on. But the one that really told the story came at 11:13 p.m. exactly. I could see the timestamp when I finally turned the phone back on the next morning. 11:13 p.m. Please, can we just talk? I don't understand what happened. What happened was simple. She tried to psychologically manipulate me based on advice from her amateur therapist friends, and discovered that actions have consequences. The next day, Thursday, she must have run straight to the group chat for support. I knew this because Lillian showed up at my workplace around lunchtime. "We need to talk," she said, cornering me in the parking lot. "Do we? I don't recall having any relationship with you that would require conversation. Look, I know you're upset about something, but walking out on your wife without warning is extreme." I almost laughed. "Without warning? Lillian, she's been ignoring me for 2 weeks based on your brilliant advice. Did you think I was just going to sit there and take it indefinitely?" Her face went pale. "How did you know about your little training program? Amazing what people leave lying around when they think you're too stupid to figure it out. That's not. You were just teaching my wife to treat me like a dog that needed training. Mission accomplished. Unfortunately for you, this particular dog had enough sense to leave before the training got any worse." Lillian looked genuinely shocked. She said you'd been acting distant and unappreciative. We were trying to help her get your attention. By ignoring me completely for 30 days to make me more submissive? That was your idea of help. The color drained from her face completely now. She'd realized that her manipulation playbook had backfired spectacularly. "This is all a misunderstanding," she said. "Just come home and talk to her." "No, all communication goes through my attorney now, Gibson and Associates. I'm sure you'll share that information with your group chat." I walked away and left her standing in the parking lot. That evening, my old phone had 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. The desperation was evident in every word, but what struck me most was what wasn't there. Not once did she acknowledge what she'd done wrong. Not once did she apologize for the manipulation. It was all about how unfair I was being, how extreme my reaction was, how we could work this out if I'd just be reasonable. She still didn't get it. The following weeks were a masterclass in consequence management. She tried every approach in the book: tears, anger, bargaining, threats. But since all communication had to go through Gibson's office, her emotional manipulation tactics fell flat. Her first genuine panic came when she got the utility disconnection notices. Apparently, she never paid attention to which bills came out of which accounts or whose name was on what service. The internet went dark first, then cable. When the electric company sent their final notice, reality started hitting hard. Gibson called me on a Tuesday afternoon. "Your wife's attorney wants to discuss temporary spousal support during proceedings." She has an attorney now? Court appointed. Seems she can't afford a private one on her marketing coordinator salary. The irony was delicious. The same woman who tried to train me into submission was now asking the court to force me to financially support her while she fought the divorce. "What's her argument?" I asked. "Standard stuff. Lifestyle maintenance, shared marital responsibilities. The usual. Deny it. She's perfectly capable of working full-time and supporting herself. She chose to play psychological games instead of communicating like an adult. That's not my financial responsibility." 2 weeks later, Gibson called again. She's requesting mediation. Says she wants to work things out like mature adults. I almost laughed. Now she wants to act like a mature adult? Where was that maturity when she was following Lillian's manipulation handbook? Do you want to hear her offer? Sure, this should be entertaining. She'll agree to counseling, promises to stop listening to her friend's advice, and wants to start fresh with better communication. Tell her no. She had 8 years to communicate better. She chose psychological warfare instead. I'm not interested in a reset with someone who thinks marriage is a power struggle. The most satisfying call came 3 weeks after that. Gibson was chuckling when he delivered the news. "Your wife's attorney just called. Seems she had to move in with her sister Helen because she couldn't afford the rent on her own." The same Helen who was part of the 30-day silence conspiracy? One and the same. Apparently, the irony isn't lost on Helen's husband Donald either. He's not thrilled about housing someone who was actively trying to sabotage marriages. By month 4, the group chat had apparently dissolved entirely. Lillian was avoiding the whole situation after her husband found out about her marriage coaching activities. Julie had stopped responding to messages altogether. The brilliant sisterhood had crumbled under the weight of their own toxic advice. The final divorce hearing was scheduled for a Friday morning in November. She made one last attempt at contact, sending a handwritten letter through her attorney requesting just one conversation to explain everything. I read it twice. It was 3 pages of justification about how she'd been stressed, how the marriage had lost its spark, how she'd only been trying to improve things between us. Still no actual apology for the manipulation. Still no acknowledgement that treating your spouse like a training experiment was fundamentally wrong. I wrote back a single sentence. Some bridges can't be rebuilt once you've burned them down. The divorce was finalized that Friday at 2:17 p.m. 8 years of marriage dissolved in a 10-minute hearing where we sat on opposite sides of the courtroom and never made eye contact. As I walked out of the courthouse, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months: complete peace. No more walking on eggshells around someone's moods. No more wondering what psychological game was being played behind my back. Just freedom. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I was living a completely different life. The apartment had become home, quiet, organized mine. No drama, no psychological games, no group chats plotting against me. I'd gotten a promotion at work 3 months prior, partly because I was more focused without the constant stress of navigating emotional landmines at home. My supervisor had noticed the change in my performance and recommended me for the senior analyst position. The financial benefits were nice, but the peace of mind was invaluable. On a Saturday morning in March, I was at the hardware store picking up supplies for some minor repairs when I ran into Donald. Helen's husband looked tired, older than his 42 years. "Hey," he said, seeming genuinely pleased to see me. "How are you doing?" "Good. Actually, better than good. You." He glanced around, then lowered his voice. "Honestly, your ex-wife moving in with us was a wake-up call. Helen's been different since all that drama went down. More thoughtful about how she talks to me. That's good to hear. She finally admitted that whole group chat thing was toxic. Said she felt terrible about what happened to you too." He paused. "She's been trying to get Lillian to apologize, but Lillian's basically gone into hiding." "Water under the bridge," I said, and meant it. "Your ex is doing okay, by the way. Found her own place last month. Seems to be getting her life together." I nodded, but didn't ask for details. That chapter was closed. The most telling moment came 2 weeks later when my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello, it's me." Her voice was softer than I remembered, less certain. "I thought we agreed all communication would go through attorneys. The divorce is final. I wanted to say something." I waited. "I know you probably don't want to hear this, but I finally understand what happened. What I did wrong. Okay. I let those women convince me that marriage was supposed to be about control and power instead of partnership. I treated you like a problem to be solved instead of a person to love." Her voice cracked slightly. "I'm sorry. I know it's too late, but I needed you to know that I get it now." For 8 months, that's all I'd wanted to hear. A genuine acknowledgement of what had actually happened. Now that I finally had it, I realized it didn't change anything. "I appreciate you saying that," I told her. "I genuinely hope you learned something from this experience. Is there any chance we could meet for coffee? Just to talk?" "No, but I wish you well." I hung up and turned my phone off for the rest of the day. That evening, I made dinner for one, watched a movie I actually wanted to see, and went to bed when I felt like it. No negotiations, no compromises, no walking on eggshells. The next morning, I deleted her number from my contacts completely. Some people think divorce is failure. Maybe they're right. But sometimes what looks like failure is actually freedom. Sometimes walking away from someone who sees you as a training project instead of a partner is the smartest thing you'll ever do. I learned that love without respect isn't love at all. It's just manipulation with better marketing. And I learned that the right response to someone trying to train you like a dog isn't to become more obedient. It's to find a door.